The title of today's message and before I get the title, saints, I must tell you that I pondered on this message hard because I felt like, well, this is what I was telling God. I said, God, I don't know if I teach this one, God. This might leave them confused. I don't know if they be able to grab what you're saying. So I'm like, can you give me something else? But he didn't. Or shall I say he wouldn't. I'm still stuck on free, y'all. The title of today's teaching, I come to teach today. Can I teach for just a little bit today? Can I just teach you just for a second today? The title of today's teaching is called, It's Time to Catch Up. It's time to catch up. We're going to start off in the book of Genesis. And we're going to end up the book of Romans. But for those that can catch what I'm getting ready to say, notice we started off in the book of Genesis. For those that can follow me, you're going to be able to follow. But we starting off in the book of Genesis. That might be telling you something. But I took the liberty to look up the word catch up. And the Webster Dictionary says catch up means to. I'm going to read it to you because I want you to understand where we're going to. An effect to reach or pass the norm. And that particular definition stood out to me because of the word normal. What is the norm? Full of questions today, y'all. What would be the norm? I'm glad you asked. God's plan is the norm. So this is my first question. If God's plan is perfect, I feel my teaching. If God's plan is perfect, if everything that he does is perfect, then by his power and by his spirit, his plan is perfect. So therefore, God is not the one that's playing catch up. We have to play catch up. But it's time to play catch up because there's something that you are supposed to be doing, but you can't do it because you're behind on the plan of the Father. Well, how was that, Brother Graham? I'm glad you asked. Let's get into the word today. I'm not going to be before you long. Genesis chapter 1. Verses 26 and 27. I feel my teacher. I'm going to release this word. I got to get it out, saints. And it reads, I'm going to read verses 26 and 27. Then I'm going to read verse 7 of chapter 2. You with me? We're going to find out about this catch-up game because it's time for us to catch up. Have your way, Holy Ghost. And it reads, and God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God made man in his own image. And in the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Over in verse 7 of chapter 2 it reads, "And the Lord formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." Now let's go back to verse 26. A few key pointers I want to point out in this verse and verses 27. But this is my question. Why did God decide to create man in his image and likeness? What was the purpose of it? What was the purpose of it? The word image, I'm going to teach you today, y'all. Should have my blackboard up. I'm going to teach you today. The word image means a physical likeness or representation of a person, animal, or thing made to be visible. So in other words, when God created you and I, he formed us exactly the way he looks. Why would he do such a thing? I mean, he created every animal different. And he gave Adam the ability to name every animal that he created. But yet when it came down to you and me, he created us in his own image. Why would he do such a thing? And then he goes on to say he created man in his likeness. The word likeness means the quality or state of being like. So let's understand this, because you have to understand this before you can understand how to catch up. So you have to understand, not only did he create you in his own image, made you look exactly the way that he looks, but he created you in his own likeness. So he gave you the very abilities that he has himself. I'm trying to create a picture for you today. You are created in his image and in his very likeness. Are you with me? Now let's look at something real quick, because he brought this to my attention that I never caught. That word "in." He said, in his image and in his likeness. Is that what your Bible says? And then in verse 7 he says, he formed and he what? Breathed. Let's see if the Bible can put me on this. Image and likeness. Am I correct? Then he says, formed and breathed. Are you with me? He formed you in his image and he breathed into you the likeness of him. So when God created you, when he breathed life into you, he breathed not only life, but he breathed a part of himself, somebody with me, into you. So that tells me that you should be walking around with a certain element of God working in somebody. Because you were created in his image and in his likeness. So not only that do you look like him, but you have his abilities. Image and likeness. And I'm just pointing out some things that you have, because you have to understand what he means when he says catch up. The first thing that you understand, that you were created in his image. Am I correct? You have his likeness, meaning you have the same abilities that the Father has given to you. Now, somebody wondering, what this got to do with ketchup? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to show you in a second. Just give me 1 second. Let's turn to the book of Luke. My, trying to stay level now. The book of Luke, chapter 10, verses 19 and 20. Somebody read that. Jesus.
Behold, I give you the authority to trample over serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you.
Verse 20.
Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven.
He said he gave you power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the what? The enemy. And then he said, nothing shall by any means hurt you. Then he goes as further. Now notice this is who talking? This Jesus is talking because it's written in red. That's elementary for somebody, but just had to throw that out there. Then he goes further by saying, notwithstanding in this rejoice not that the spirits are subject unto who? Unto you. Notice say the spirits that he gave you power over the enemy. So let's back up. Because I'm painting a picture because you need to know what ketchup means. First of all, you created in his image, in his likeness. He breathed life into you. He breathed a part of himself in you. Then he goes a step further. See, it's something about man. Angels even wonder, what is it about man that you think so highly of? Then he goes on to say he gave you power over the enemy. And then he goes even further to say that every spirit, but I need to describe that spirit so you will know what he means. Every demonic spirit is subject unto who? So that means that God has given you supernatural power, that every supernatural demonic force that's operating in the world is subject unto you. I'm going somewhere with this, y'all. I'm going somewhere with this. You got to walk with me. Every demonic force that's operating in the world today, natural and supernatural, they got to bow down to you. He didn't say some, he said all power. That same power that the enemy was stripped, he was cast out of him, that same power has been given to you. So this is my question in that verse. Why are you still subject to the power that's supposed to be subject? Somebody don't want me to. Why are you still bound to that certain demonic oppression when it's supposed to be subject to you? Why are you still allowing that demon to have his way with you when you're supposed to be having your way? You got to catch up. There we go. You got to catch up. You got to catch up to what the Father has already done. See, it's us that's behind time. Because God's plan is still moving forward, whether you in this thing or not, whether you on course or not, the Father's plan is still moving forward. Somebody wait. So this is my question. Is God's plan moving ahead of you? Or have he lost? Have he lost you? Have he lost you in this race called faith? It's time to catch up, saints. You have a work to do. But you cannot do that work if you're not where you're supposed to be. Somebody with me. You are supposed to be somewhere in God. Thank you, Holy Ghost. The Spirit of God. I don't want to expose you. Okay. The Spirit of God The Spirit of God that's in you knows exactly where you are supposed to be right now. Now, whether you are where you're supposed to be, that's a whole nother subject. But the Spirit of God that's in you, and I had to experience this for myself this week, y'all, I'm telling you. The Spirit of God in you knows exactly where you're supposed to be. The Spirit of God in you knows exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Trust me, I know. So why are those demonic forces not subject to you? Why are they not? Why are you still sitting around being oppressed and depressed when they're supposed to be bowing down at your feet? You got to catch up. I'm wrapping it up, I think. You have to catch up. Oh, my Jesus. Let's move on, y'all. Romans chapter 8, verses 19 and 20. And somebody get Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 4. It's time to catch up. I don't know about y'all, but when God says it's time to catch up, I was like, what you mean it's time to catch up? And he began to show me. Not only did he show me the word, y'all, but I have a testimony to share with you to let you know he showed me naturally. I was like, oh my God. Oh, Jesus. And when you hear my testimony for that, no, you gonna understand what I'm saying. Where we at? Romans. Let me get there, y'all. Let me get there, Bible scholars. I know I'm kind of slow. Let me get there. Hold up. Give me a second. I'm moving as fast as I possibly can. Think. Let me get there. Romans chapter 8. What I say? Yeah, chapter 8. I'm almost there. I ain't as fast as y'all. I'm almost there. Chapter 8, verse 19. Y'all should be there, right? In verse 19, and it reads, for the earnest expectation of the creature waited, somebody with me, waited for the manifestation of the sons. No, does it say the sons of man? God. Then verse 22 reads, for we know that the whole creation, or did he say the part of the creation? The whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until when? Now. Now. What is that saying, saints? That the whole entire world, all of creation, is waiting for the manifestation of the real sons of God. And that word sons does not mean the male. It means both male and female. All of creation, and I'm telling y'all, I experienced this and it blew my mind. All creation is waiting for you to catch up. For you to get in your place where you're supposed to be. All creation is waiting, saints. This is my question. If you have the Spirit of God, the real truth from high, on high, because I'm not talking about just a tongue, I'm talking about the Spirit of God that come from on high, the one that Jesus said gonna come from on high. If you have the real Spirit of God that's from on high, working in you, then tell me something. Why is the world in the spiritual state that it's in? Tell me that. Why is all creation still in pain? Why is all creation still groaning and waiting for the real manifestation? Why are they still waiting? What are they waiting on? They're waiting for you to catch up. Trust me, they're waiting. And I'm going to show you how in 1 second. But they're waiting. I'm going to move over to verse 29. And it says, for whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the what? There go that word image again. To be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many what? Brethren. So Jesus was the first example of everything that's supposed to be walking in this earth. Uh-oh. I ain't want to go that far. Jesus was the first of many that's supposed to walk this natural earth and do the will of the Father. Notice he say first of many. So it's supposed to be some coming supposed to be some coming behind him that was supposed to be able to do everything that he did. The Bible that I read say, greater works shall you do. So why is the world still waiting, saints? Why do you have the world still in travail waiting on the sons of God? What? You need to catch up. You need to catch up, saints. Then he says, moreover, in verse 30, and I'm wrapping it up, moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. And whom he called, then he also what? Justified. And whom he justified, then he also glorified. And that's the thing that had me baffled with this. He glorified them. Now, I know that God is not calling us to our glorified body to walk here on earth because we have to come in his flesh so that we can communicate with men. So that was the purpose of him sending us here in his flesh. But he said he glorified you. So that tells me that you're supposed to be walking in a certain element of glory that the world should be able to recognize. The world should be able to recognize who you are. Literally, they should know you from anybody else. The Bible says, oh, what a peculiar people. If you ain't never had nobody call you peculiar or strange, or according to the word, you might want to check it. I get it all the time. You are strange. Something strange about you. What? You just, I mean, you're weird. You're supposed to be like that. The world's supposed to see you weird. I'm telling you, if you fit in, something wrong. Something wrong. If you can just go out in the world and just fit in all comfortable, something wrong. You're supposed to always stand out. I could never keep a friend. I don't even have friends. Don't even know what a friend is no more, really. Don't know what that even is. But it's time to catch up, saints. And I'm closing. It's time to catch up. It's time. I'm saying this over and over because I'm trying to get this in your spirit. It's time to catch up. I will show you. I'm going to share this with you. Because this needs to encourage somebody. And it also needs to explain to you what the Father means by saying, catch up. I was working one day. And I'm minding my own business, y'all, like I always do. No, God has it. Just show up when I'm doing my own. Minding my own business and I'm working. And I'm looking at the floor because while I'm sweeping, I'm paying attention to what I'm sweeping. Shit. And as I'm sweeping, I looked at what looks like a piece of paper that a little kid had dropped, that they had covered on. They had dropped it, so I goes over there. Because I'm getting ready to sweep it and keep on about my business. But the Holy Ghost said, look. But he impressed on me to look. And as I looked down, it appeared to be had two black circles. I'm getting somewhere. You're going to follow me. You might stand to your feet on it. But as I looked, I just saw two black circles, right? I said, okay, look at what? It's just a piece of colored paper. But it was that so. Kept just impressing on me to look. And y'all, as I stood there, and I'm looking real close, I realized it's a butterfly. And I'm saying, okay. okay, it's a butterfly. Okay, what? So pick it up. And I picked up the butterfly. And it wasn't moving or nothing. It was still alive, but it wasn't moving. So I dropped it back on the floor. You know, the Holy Ghost say, pick it up again. So I pick it up again. But this time when I pick it up, it began to move. Somebody gonna follow me. It began to move. So I you know, that didn't dawn on me at first. So guess what? I dropped it again. The Holy Ghost said, pick it up. As I pick it up this time, the Holy Ghost said, now watch. Now I'm watching, y'all. And I got this butterfly in my hand, y'all. And I could literally feel this butterfly, no bigger than the inside of the palm hand, but I could literally feel this butterfly draw up. I could feel this butterfly drawing something from me. And as God began to impress on me, just hold it, and the longer I hold it, guess what? The more he began to move. But when I first saw him, he was just sitting there. But as the Holy Ghost began to just say, hold him, and the more I hold him, y'all, the more he began to move and get his light. I'm like, are you serious? Now, mind you, the word is already in my spirit. It's time to catch up. Now I'm saying, okay, now you really trying to show me what you mean when you say catch up. And y'all, I'm watching this butterfly in my hand and he just moving. I could literally feel this creature. Notice we just got to talking about all creatures waiting on the manifestation of the real Son of God. I'm literally feeling this creature draw its strength from me. I'm feeling this. And I'm like, Lord, are you serious? This is where I'm supposed to be. Whatever else going on around me right here, this element right here is where I'm supposed to be. So now I see what you mean when you say it's time to catch up. So I dropped the butterfly again. And this time he just kind of swerving on the floor, just moving. But at first he wasn't doing nothing. So I'm led to pick him up again. And this time the Holy Ghost said, take him outside. Oh my mind, you know him, I said, take him outside. So y'all, I took him outside because I wasn't led to throw him away. So I took him outside and I just sat him on the ground. This time I didn't drop him. I politely sat him because I was minded. This is a creature. This is one of his creations. So I'm not just going to continue to just drop him like he don't mean nothing. So I go outside and I just sat him on the ground. And he must have recognized his source of food because he began to crawl towards this leaf and began to eat. And I'm watching him eating and I'm standing and they got people coming in the door and out the door and they're like, what is he standing? But y'all, I'm just standing there because I want to see what this butterfly is doing. And all he's doing is just eating. He done found strength from somewhere. He wouldn't have more strength if I'd have really been where I'm supposed to be. I'm trying to get it. But he found some strength through this vessel and he began to find his way and he found something to eat. And people just going back and forth, and looking at me like, what is he looking at? And my eyes staying on this butterfly because I'm like, okay, God, if he done drew some power from me, I want to see him move. But he wouldn't move. So I said, okay, maybe he was just hungry. Maybe that was just for a purpose and a reason. And I walked off to go do my normal thing. And the Holy Ghost said, now go back and see. And y'all, I go back and see. I'm looking for this butterfly and he gone. And I'm looking all around. Maybe he crawled somewhere where he got some. He was gone. He was gone. gotten out of that is the plan of God, it's already in motion. It's already in operation. It's already moving. It's up to us to get back where we're supposed to be. The Spirit of God that's in you knows exactly where you're supposed to be. The Spirit of God in me knew somehow, some way that there must be some kind of power that I'm supposed to release to this butterfly. And I even played with it in my mind. I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not going to work. Or maybe that butterfly don't have enough faith to get healed. Or maybe it's not, that's why I asked that question. Maybe it's not going to work that way, but I had to obey the Father. And as I obeyed the Father, life began to be released to this creature. So that creature was there. God knew I was going to be there at that specific time. Whatever that creature needed, y'all, I'm trying to get y'all to understand and catch up. Whatever that creature needed, he knew it had to come from his creator. He knew that all the human beings he saw walking back and forth was not going to help him. He knew whatever strength that he needed, it had to come from a greater source. So that tells me something. How many more creatures? How many more creatures are out there right now waiting for the manifestation of God? Because you and your flesh can't do nothing for them. How much longer are you going to let the world wait? How much longer, saints? That wasn't the first time that God allowed me to know where I'm supposed to be. It's just circumstances come and you tend to just move to the side and let this come in. But God has said it's time to catch you. But the first time he showed me, and I'm just testifying because I'm trying to get you to understand that whatever you're supposed to be in God, it's time for you to catch up. I remember one time, and I shared this with someone, when my son, he was much younger, and he fell and he hit his mouth. He cut the inside of his mouth. I said, boy, you gonna be all right, boy. I just said, boy, you gonna be all right. But I noticed his lip began to swell. Ice on it, it'll go down, blah, blah, blah. It began to get bigger, y'all. I said, look, the ice thing ain't working. So before I could think about it, I'm trying to help somebody, before I could ponder on it, I said, boy, come out. And y'all, before anything other than faith could kick in, I said, boy, lift your hands to God. He obeyed that and he lifted up his hands and fought. And I promise y'all, I laid hands on his mouth and some was released. Not even 10 seconds later, I'm looking at his mouth just going down right before my eyes. That's where I'm supposed to be, right there. Right there, in the plan of God. That's what I'm supposed to be. So as I close today, this is my question. Where are you supposed to be? I'm not talking about natural. I'm talking about super. Where are you supposed to be? Because saints of God, wherever you are supposed to be, something or someone is out there waiting. Whether it be a soul, creature, whatever it is, something is out there waiting on you. Where are you supposed to be, saints? See, I find it that strange, and I'm done. I find that strange that God gave me a word on last week saying it's time to be free. And as I'm trying to swallow the free thing, y'all, because I was just trying to swallow. They got some stuff I just need gone, but I got to swallow this one. God, you talking about giving up everything. Whatever it's going to take to be free, house, cars, kids, money, whatever. God, hold up. So as I'm trying to swallow that, then he said, it's time for you to catch up. Saints of God, God is calling us somewhere. Where are you supposed to be? In God. Not in yourself. Not your own will. I'm telling y'all, after I saw that little butterfly, you know, God has a way, not intentionally, but God has a way of breaking you down. Not that he really broke me down, but that just broke me, y'all. To see this little bitty creature, just standing there, people walking by looking at it. But that little creature knew that he needed something from his creator. And it was amazing to see me hold this thing in my two little feet. And life began to be released to this little butterfly. Whatever he does right now, I just pray that he free. But one thing I learned from the butterfly, it had nothing to do with me. He knew his creator. That's another question today. Do you really know your creator? Do you really know him today? Do you know your creator today? Do you know the power that's supposed to be working in you? Do you know the dominion that you have, the authority that, do you know it today? Shout.